I think everybody knows that I was in Texas teaching, and we talked about that last week as well, that I was teaching with Holdsworth Center. The first week was a session with campus leaders, so what they call campus leaders. So that was largely principals of schools in Texas. And then the second week, the training was with district leaders. So it was more like the C-suite of school district superintendents and so forth. But we did pretty much the same training both weeks. And what a privilege and what a gift to be able to share those teachings, which I realized more and more as it went on, are so wonderfully aligned with our Zen practice, which I think is one reason I keep doing it, and also sharing the teachings with teachers, or those in education and those who have and are giving their lives to the future, through as it will manifest itself through families and children that they're serving. So of course in that is a lot of purpose, understanding your purpose, and in fact that was where we started the training, about a half a day on purpose. And I don't remember how much of this I shared directly with you, but there's a section in there called work as a calling. And whether you see your work as job, career, or calling. Did I mention that last week? No. Okay. So whether your work is a job, career, or calling, job, transactional, I do this and I get paid for it. Career, more a sense of advancement, a place that I'm going, something I'm trying to achieve. And then calling, which many people tend to think of as the province of doctors, priests, teachers, people that just feel called to do their work. And some characteristics of that are getting up in the morning and going, wow, I can't believe this is my life, this is what I get to do, that I get paid to do this, and so job, career, or calling. And then of course very quick to point out that even as a teacher, a doctor, or a priest, or any of us, right, that there are moments when even with the highest of purpose, it can feel like a job. You're tired, you're burnt out. You walk into a room where nobody's receptive or paying attention, or you walk into a room or a classroom or a zendo and just feel like you missed the mark, and didn't do your job well. And then the only thing that can really save you in that is the calling, but at the time it can feel very much like a job, right? So really underscoring the fact that it's like a spectrum or a bell curve, in that we can all go through that feeling like our work is in any one of those things at any given point in time, which is important when you're working with a bunch of educators. Because by and large, people come into education not to make a killing financially, but to serve and to work with children and families and make the world a better place through schooling. And so there's this assumption, well, yeah, you're purpose-driven and your work is a calling and all is good. But often what you find is you have to regenerate that and recreate that and rediscover your calling. Which is a lot like Zen practice. The awakened one in all of us. And yet is it present? Is it manifest at any given moment? And how do you recreate it? And how do you bring it to life? And we talk a lot here at Prajna Heart about, our roles in this practice and in the world as walking little Buddhas and Bodhisattvas, is like, how do you bring it to life in a way that it actually has some effect, without, my old joke by now, without walking around bowing at doorknobs and making everything Zen. So I was just noting those parallels to what we were teaching in that purpose thing and what we teach in Zen. But what I really wanted to touch on today was in the early in the second day, we spend some time with the what's called the growth mindset. And Paul, I'm sure you know the growth mindset, and Sharma, I'm sure you know the growth mindset. And maybe some of the rest of you do too, because those in education or therapeutic services and psychology. I mean, this has been a thing for a while now, and Microsoft Corporation at the CEO level on down has taken growth mindset or growth as one of their values, and it's largely purported to have driven huge performance and gains in the marketplace for them. So it's been taken into business as well. But the growth mindset basically is the opposite of seeing ourselves as fixed as personalities, as in our character, in our potential, and says that we all have the potential to grow. And I know I did touch on this last week a little bit because we talked about epigenetics, that DNA is there, but if you don't activate it, it doesn't have as much effect on you. And then neuroplasticity, out of the fields of neuroscience, that we're always growing new neurons and rewiring them, and so that the brain is not as fixed an object, the neurons in the brain not as fixed in quantity and use as used to be imagined or thought, even by science. So there's this this notion of growth. And one of the questions we often ask is character fixed or changeable? And depending on somebody's exposure to this material and just their point of view, they'll say, well, no, my character is largely fixed. I am who I am. Or no, even that is a changeable quality, that character has some room for movement and growth. And Melissa often, repeats something that I think came from Yoshin Roshi back at Santa Monica Zen Center, that, for him, Zen practice was all about development of character. And I don't see Gabriel with us this morning, but that's something Gabriel has often asked about. It's like, how does Zen work? Like, if I want to work on aspects of my character or be a better person, does Zen address that? And of course, the answer is yes. And so, just looking at this notion of growth, and we looked at growth through adversity and what opportunities did the pandemic, offer all of us, for growth and exploring different ways to be and to live and to love and to commune, and certainly there has been that. And I found myself not from a place of separation or superiority or anything, but I was just looking at it from a place of, having spent so much time in this Zen game, that like the idea of anything being fixed, and particularly the sense of self being fixed, I mean, it's like it doesn't resonate with the Zen point of view at all, right? Because if you are on this journey to discover the true self, and the true self, as Dogen puts it, to know the self is to forget the self, right? To really know the self, you've discovered that there's nothing there. There's nothing fixed there, and it kind of blows the whole concept wide open into what's often called emptiness, but which is also ultimate connection to everything. And when you start looking at the self that way and exploring the self that way and looking at the space in between the numbers 1 and 2 and 3 as you're counting and returning back to 1, how could there be any fixed self there? It's all about infinite possibility and growth. It's like the growth mindset writ infinite. Because how could there be any fixed me if there is no me, so to speak? So, I was really spending some time looking at that, and suppose I could just, end the Dharma talk there and say, welcome to Zen, the growth mindset, and yet we all cling to a fixed sense of self at some way. And when we talk about delusions and attachments, that's really what we're talking about, is trying to fix things in space and time and mind, right? Like fix it so that, like, if you fix it in the sense of not like repairing, but, fixing it in space and time so that there's something I can hold on to. And this also is why we ask people to, universally, teacher to teacher. I'm sure there are some that have different approaches, but generally speaking, sit, do zazen, count your breath, follow your breath, do just sitting, for a year, be part of a sangha, be part of a community, so that you are supported before you really dive into there's nothing to hang on to, because koans really do damage to the delusion. That's the point, is to start stripping away, that fixed sense of self and that fixed sense of concept and that fixed story. So, just as an aside or a sidebar, I guess, that's one of the reasons we ask everybody to, diligently practice, show up, be part of a group, a sangha, and practice zazen, before moving on, because it can be a little disconcerting. It's like, what do you mean? I don't exist. Well, because obviously here I am, and it gets, it's a little, it can seem a little loopy. So great time last week with everybody at Holdsworth and taking them into that. And then after growth mindset, and I know I'm repeating myself slightly, but then we did love and why love and what's the quality of love that makes a great leader. And then finally we end on self-realization, and I actually take people through some, intro to Zazen, and then some visualization, love and light meditation, coming more out of the self-realization foundation fellowship tradition and other traditions, and then some other visualization techniques for meditation to start giving people some access to a self that is less fixed. So that's been somewhat my inquiry over the last 3 or so days since getting on the plane back from Austin. And to work with that a little bit in our tradition, I thought I would bring up case 30 and case 33 from the Mumonkan, or the Gateless Gate. And case 30 is very short, says, Tai Bai asked Baso in all earnestness, "What is Buddha?" Baso answered, "The very mind is Buddha." Mumon's commentary says, if you grasp it on the spot, you wear Buddha's clothes, eat Buddha's food, speak Buddha's words, do Buddha's deeds. You are Buddha, him or herself. Though this may be so, Tai Bai has, alas, misled not a few people into mistaking the mark on the balance for the weight itself. The mark on the balance is like a scale for the weight itself. How can he realize that even the mere mention of the word Buddha should make a man rinse his mouth for 3 days? If one is such a man, when he hears someone say the very mind is Buddha, he will cover his ears and run away. Okay. The verse, the blue sky, the bright day, it is most detestable to hunt around. If furthermore you ask, what is Buddha? It is like shouting your innocence while holding the lute. Okay, nice little verse. So the very mind is Buddha. You know, when asked what is Buddha, the very mind is Buddha. And then yet it turns around and Mumon and the verse both turn around and go, but isn't that a crime? Isn't that thievery? Isn't that robbery to even talk about Buddha that way? And Chalet and I were talking about this a little bit earlier. Because even saying Buddha and what is Buddha is trying to fix Buddha in space, right? Fix Buddha into a concept, right? Fix the awakened one, the awakened state into something I can hold on to and go, oh, I guess I'm Buddha, you know, or there's Buddha on the altar. But what is Baso really doing? And now the role of teacher is you have to kind of kill the Dharma to teach the Dharma often. You know, you have to do the very thing that you're asking people not to do, is dissect things and put them into concepts and tell stories and put it in you know, discursive form. But you know, so why does Baso say this? The very mind is Buddha. So this mind is the big mind. Okay, the mind that is everything. The mind Baso is pointing to here is not the thinking mind. This is not the mind that's having opinions, thoughts, beliefs, stances about things. This is mind as perception of this here right now, sometimes what we call big mind. Okay, this is that infinite mind. And so the very mind is Buddha. You know, I mean, if you kind of clear your consciousness and just look around you, you know, this is it. Here we are. You know, and if those of you in the room, and you can even do it on Zoom, if you get close enough and look into somebody's eyes long enough, you know, you can start losing that separation. Okay, and so it's this very mind that is Buddha. That is not a fixed mind. You know, that is, to go back to fixed versus growth, that's infinite growth because the space is infinite. Right? In that space, anything is possible. In that space, anything is possible. So then why, just a little later, when a monk asks Baso in all earnestness, what is Buddha? This is case 33 now. Okay? Same question. Baso replies, no mind, no Buddha. You know, I mean, is this just a teacher? Let's see, we'll keep it clean for the recording. Toying with us? Toying with us? You know, I mean, you all know where I was going with that. You know, is this just Baso toying with us? Why on one hand would he say the very mind is Buddha, and then turn right around and go, no mind, no Buddha. You know, why when a monk asks Joshu, does a dog have Buddha nature? Does he, in the case one of the Gateless Gate, say moo? And then many years later, you run into the same koan in the Book of Equanimity, and he says, yes. Okay, is this Joshu toying with us again? Or is this the imperfection of language and the necessity of teaching to like chisel away at this from both sides? So look around you, feel around you, be around you in that big infinite space. That is Buddha, that is the awakened state, that is all of our birthright. And then when we start trying to fix that into space, he turns right around and says, no mind, no Buddha, right? Because he needs to do damage to that too. Right? Because all of a sudden we went into this growth mindset about Buddha, this unfixed Buddha, and what's the next thing we do? We fix it. It's just a little bit bigger. Now we've fixed it as infinite. And so then the teacher tries to do away with that too. I'm getting a few little nods and glimmers in the room and on the screen. And I just think, it's one of the beautiful things about this practice, if you embrace it, is that there's this never-ending, infinite opportunity to grow. There's this never-ending, infinite opportunity for today to be different than it was yesterday, for the next moment to occur just as it occurs, not as we try to make it occur. And so as individuals, as people making our way through our lives in the world, what a beautiful way to live. Just because I was this yesterday doesn't mean I have to be this today. Just because I was this an hour ago doesn't mean I have to be this right now. Just because our relationship was this yesterday, it doesn't mean that's what it is right now, or even a minute ago and right now. And in terms of relationship between two people or two states or two parties or two nations, it offers the opportunity to go, no, maybe there's another possibility. This is our history. Does it have to be our story? That keeps me going. That brings an infinite amount of hope and energy into my being, even when I'm tired, and it feels like a job, I mean, I guarantee you there are times trying to get the newsletter out and fighting with Premiere Pro that it is a job, but then, I walk in and sit down and do Zazen or do interview with any of you on the screen or in the room, or just open up for the Dharma talk, and all of a sudden there it is again, the possibility. There's the calling, right? There's the calling. Because that, to use very un-Zen language, is just kind of cool. I mean, what is it like to live a life where there's always possibility in it? What is it like to be part of a Sangha that always has possibility in it? Or a city, or a society. There's a lot of things we don't have right. Acknowledge it, but don't fix it. Acknowledge it and see the possibility. So, whether it's counting breaths and seeing the gap in between thoughts, or letting a koan take you over to destroy your notion of fixed concepts, ideas, and beliefs, about dogs or whatever they are. What a great practice. And I was thinking about it too, just personally and selfishly, because I had never really thought about it before. It's like, every time I walk into Dokusan with Tenshin Roshi, it's a walk into I don't know. It's a walk into what is there? What possibility is there? Because every time I walk in with a koan I'm not quite getting, or a question I want to explore, or something that's come up here, every time I walk in, and I had never really thought about it before. In all these years I've taught fixed and growth mindset, it's always about growth. It's always about seeing beyond a fixed point of view about what anything is. It's always seeing beyond. And each one of the koans, and every time you sit zazen, whether you're doing koans or not, is an opportunity to let go of that fixed view and see what's beyond it. So, it's an inherently lives in that space. And what a gift. I'm 62 years old. That's getting old enough to just go, yeah, this is what my life is, and this is what I know, and this is what I believe, and it's all been working pretty well, and just motor along on autopilot. Well, but what joy to walk face to face every moment into I don't know. And what is there to where is there to go, and where is there to grow? It's not always comfortable, but what a gift this practice has been for this guy. I mean, even as, you're made teacher, but then you go on as student, and you make mistakes. That's the growing through adversity. How do you see everything as an opportunity for growth? And so, whether, you're just getting started and you're like, I can never get to 10, or whether, it's like me early on, slamming my bowls down in sesshin in utter frustration and sobbing because I was on my 7th month of working on how do you stop the sound of the temple bell. How do you see that as an opportunity for growth? And our practice gives that to us. It just hands it to us. If you stay with this and just engage in even the most basic level of the practice, that's the gift. The gift of what is so right now, and infinite possibility of what might be so next, of not knowing. So you run into that a lot in Dharma talks, in koan study, is something and its exact opposite are both presented as, some facet of the truth. But, isn't that the case in life too? That whatever the this is, its opposite also exists as some facet of the truth? Just in its existence? I'm not saying right or wrong. Be very careful there, right? Not saying right or wrong. But this and its opposite both exist. That's a facet of the truth. And then what do we do? What do we do with it? So anyway, just some thoughts on, what is Buddha? Oh, and, what is Buddha? The very mind is Buddha. And then this beautiful commentary on the very mind is Buddha. Now listen to this, given what we've talked about so far. If you grasp it on the spot, you wear Buddha's clothes. Make this personal, right? You eat Buddha's food. You speak Buddha's words. You do Buddha's deeds. You are Buddha herself. You know, it's right there. You know, I see a lot of different clothes, and they're all Buddha's clothes. You know, we had a bunch of different meals today in different time zones, and they're all Buddha's meals. You know? So maybe that's geeking out a little bit on isn't Zen wonderful, but you know, that's my job. It's also my career and my calling.